Hey everyone, welcome back to another review of some Dragon Ball Super episodes. Now, I know this is really late. I didn't get a chance to review an individual episode a couple weeks ago for Dragon Ball Super episode 51, and then it's been like half a week since episode 52 hit. I've just been insanely busy lately working on other things basically, so I didn't get a chance to record these. But finally, I got a chance to watch both episodes back to back, and I figured I'd go ahead and talk about them now, or I'm not going to get a chance at any other point. So basically, episode 51 and 52, they kind of work with each other. We ended off on the reveal that Bulma has another time machine, and it's the time machine that Cell was using to travel back in time when he first showed up in the original Dragon Ball Z arc. And here what we have is the time machine's here, and Bulma's going to try and repair it. And so over the course of these two episodes, we see that she doesn't entirely know how it functions. And so her dad comes back, and those two start working on it together. Pilaf and his gang start helping her with it. And there's a moment here where we find out that the substance that powers the time machine is something that Bulma was working on with that fighter from the fighter from the Universe 6 arc that Beerus used. I forget his name off the top of my head, the delivery guy. So she's developing that substance right now, and it's going to take her about a day to fill the entire canister, whereas it took Trunks in his future timeline an entire year to fill just half of it. And so pretty soon we're going to be able to use the time machine to go back to Trunks' future. And in the meantime, Vegeta is going off and training because he's enraged at what Black Goku has done to his family in the future. Along with this, we also have in episode 51 a little bit of flashback as to the original invasion of Goku Black and what Mai and Trunks' relationship is. And essentially what that boils down to is Goku Black arrived, and in his arrival, half the population of the planet was eradicated within like a day or something along those lines. And Mai is part of this constant resistance force against Goku Black. And we see a little bit of what their tactics are, dropping a building on him, obviously having no effect and such. And so Mai is basically a strong resistance fighter that helps Trunks along the way after he gets into a fight with Goku Black and nearly dies. And so they build a relationship from there, and it seems very clear that the theme of this entire arc is going to be defining hope. We're doing a lot with the word already. Trunks' time machine had the word hope on it when he first arrived. And so here we're doing much more of what inspires Trunks, what inspires the future, what is the sentimentality that his need to fight rests on. And a lot of that's actually really interesting. The highlight of everything we're getting with the future Trunks stuff right now is just Trunks' character arc. Because there's issues here and there, we'll talk about them. But for the most part, what I'm really enjoying about it is just seeing Trunks grow and become a better person and learning more about what makes him tick and the things that are bothering him and stuff like that. In episode 52, we get this moment where Trunks tells Krillin and Piccolo that Gohan was the guy that trained him, and we get a flashback to the future Trunks special where Gohan lost an arm and knocked Trunks out and he first became a Super Saiyan. Right off the bat, I just want to complain about that real quick because the future of Trunks is probably, maybe objectively the best thing Dragon Ball Z has ever produced. It's not my favorite, but it's amazing, and it's probably on a technical level the best thing they've ever done. And so Dragon Ball Super has this thing where when it flashes back to events of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, it uses the original animation and just kind of fades the colors out so we know what the flashback. But sometimes when it has to like retroactively add something, it changes to the current animation. And so because Trunks has blue hair now, they go back and they do the flashbacks to future of Trunks, except they use the new animation and make Trunks' hair blue. And that bugs me. It shouldn't. It's not really a big deal, but it bugs me because we're inconsistent about what the flashback world will look like. We've established in a sort of canon that the flashback world of Dragon Ball Super looks exactly like the original animation of Dragon Ball Z. And when we need to change minor things like Trunks' hair color, we use new animation, and that annoys me. And I'm positive you could probably go back and digitally alter his hair color if you really wanted to, but is it really that big of a deal? I don't think anyone honestly cares that much, especially since you already have the inconsistency of Kid Trunks having his white hair, but adult Trunks having the blue hair. It's annoying. So I don't like that, but there's an interesting contrast between future Gohan being Trunks' mentor and him getting to meet the present Gohan and how he's exactly the opposite. And he has sort of a, not necessarily a breakdown, but just kind of like he tears up at the thought of like Gohan got exactly what he wanted from the future he came from. And if you know future Gohan, it is kind of heartbreaking to like put that into your mind, put yourself in Trunks' shoes, and see how happy Gohan ended up. It is contradictory a little bit to what happened with the Resurrection F stuff, because Gohan makes a very conscious choice at the end of that to resume his training with Piccolo so he can protect people. So the idea that he doesn't look like he's training right now, and that he doesn't initially ask why Trunks is here in the first place, that the fact that he hasn't relearned some more of his fighting instinct from training with Piccolo all this time, supposedly, that's a bit of an issue. Gohan's a character that had a very particular growth up to the end of Cell, and then the Majin Buu stuff sort of reversed it, and then tried to return it when you got to the unlocked potential Gohan, and then sort of reversed it again by the end. Gohan's trajectory as a character has been kind of muddled ever since the end of Cell, and it continues into Super, and it kind of annoys me that if you want to write him off as a scholar, just write him off as a scholar and don't include those moments where clearly he wants to fight again. And if you're going to include those moments where he wants to fight again, be consistent about that and try and turn him into a fighter again instead of just a scholar. I kind of want more consistency on that end. And just for the other Dragon Ball Z characters in general, I think they need more consistency. Piccolo training by like doing chores is not a thing that should improve him physically now, as if it would have back when he was still really young in Dragon Ball. Piccolo is so strong to this point that kind of stuff shouldn't really be considered training for him, and yet the show wants us to think it is. So that's annoying. Now, the other thing I want to mention is Goku Black has a speech when he first shows up where he says that he's doing this for justice, and his motivation, at least in episode 51, kind of boils down to this notion that he doesn't think humanity is worth saving, which is a question I've always liked. If you look at a list of all my favorite villains, the question they will ask of us as people is whether we've done anything to earn the right to be saved in any way. That's what Ultron does in Age of Ultron. That's what Sensui does in Yu Yu Hakusho. That kind of question about the worth of humanity to be moral in the first place is something I find really interesting. But Goku Black has that speech where he's like, humanity is a cancer and they just ruin everything and they need to be eradicated. My problem with this is, just initially, because I know we're going to do the Universe 10 stuff in a while and establish what the humanity on that side may have looked like to motivate him in this way, and we're going to get more, so this is just me grasping what we have so far, but I don't like this notion that a Kai, as we know Goku Black will probably turn out to be, okay, maybe that's not fair either, okay, but I don't like this notion that Goku Black, as this supremely powerful being, is fixated on humanity when he knows about the existence of other species and other life forms. He's got a ring of time. He's time traveled. He knows there are points along a timeline in a given universe. He knows what Saiyans are. He's seen, presumably, what types of power Goku and Trunks and such have. And his sort of idea that humanity doesn't deserve saving because they always ruin themselves, I kind of don't know what he's talking about yet. And so I don't care for that motivational reveal until I see more of what exactly does he think humanity has done wrong. Because if you look at the history of Dragon Ball Z in particular, first it's the Saiyans, which is not part of humanity. Then it's Frieza and the Ginyu Force, which is again not part of humanity. And then you come back and you do Cell, which is part of humanity because of Dr. Gero creating them. But then after that, it's Majin Buu, which is a Kai thing, not part of humanity. So for the most part, and then Garlic Jr. is somewhere in between, but for the most part, humanity of Dragon Ball Z kind of just exists as a reactionary force of like, humanity in Dragon Ball Z dies and gets resurrected constantly to the point where I don't think those people really know what's going on and what's going with them. The only human characters we really get a sense of are people like Pan and Chi-Chi and Bulma and stuff, and that's because they're part of the constant fight against other forces. And so I don't have a sense of the corruption of people the way Goku Black is talking about. When we get to Sensui and Yu Yu Hakusho, up to that point, we've seen things like the Dark Tournament and people like Gonzo Tarukane and stuff like that. We know that there were people worse than demons, so it makes sense that he would draw that connection. We don't have to explain more of what he has seen specifically, even though we do with the Chapter Black video. Goku Black hasn't had that moment yet. Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super hasn't had that moment yet where we see the underbelly of humanity, and so I just don't know what he's talking about. A lot of that might be fixed when we go to the next episode and we go to the person that has the same energy as Goku Black, which is basically where episode 52 ends off, where we talk about where ever since Goku Black first showed up, Beerus and we said that they think that the energy is familiar. And in thinking the energy is familiar, they go off to Universe 10 to find this other Kai. And in finding the other Kai, we think that this might turn out to be Goku Black, and it does fit with the way the intro is for the season, and I feel like at this point we kind of already know where that stuff's going. So hopefully episode 53 dives more into why his motivation is what it is. Another thing I want to mention is Vegeta is training in a gravity room again. I feel like he's gotten so far that gravity rooms shouldn't really be training anymore, in the same way that Piccolo doing chores shouldn't be training anymore, but again, that's just a bit of a nitpick. And then the other thing I want to mention is this notion that Kid Trunks is almost a little bit jealous of Future Trunks because of the relationship he has with Mai, and Child Mai, I think, has developed a crush on him. That stuff's just, I don't really care for that. Kid Trunks had a great character arc in Wrath of the Dragon, and in Dragon Ball Z, he's always been kind of a brat. So his characterization here, I'm just kind of not feeling yet. I feel like that's just more padding to the rest of the series right now. So that's going to do it for episodes 51 and 52. I'll be back, hopefully on time, to talk about episode 53. I'm enjoying this arc. I'm enjoying this for the stuff we're getting with Trunks more than anything. And I think a lot of the problems that I've talked about with Goku Black, or maybe some of the problems people talked about in the comments last time with Goku as a character, I don't want to judge too harshly yet until the entire arc is over and we see where all of this is going. Hopefully it takes a while to wrap up, like I said before, where I want this to feel like a stretched out saga and not just a mini arc. But hopefully I'll be back on time to talk about episode 53, because I am curious to see where all of this goes. Let me know what you think in the comments, whether you agree or disagree with anything I said. Until then, I will see you next time.